Hello and welcome. Today I am bringing you guys the mid-year book Freakout tag. I'm very certain I butchered that entire title. Also, if I sound strange, my ears are clogged, and so I can't really get a good grasp on how I sound because I sound like I'm in an echo chamber. It's fun. It's not. So anyways, I've got the questions here written down. I've got my computer right over here so that I can make sure for any of the books I don't own, I get the author's name correct. And with that said, let's just go ahead and let's jump into this. So, question number 1, best book you've read so far in 2024. And I have actually picked 2 books for this because I could not pick one or the other. So the first one's going to go to Gog Magog by Jeff Noon and Steve Beard. This book is just so weird. It's so strange. It's so different that I just had a wonderful time with it. And I love the fact that we follow an old lady. Like, we hear this a lot about how female protagonists are always like 18, fresh out of high school. This is an old, crotchety, angry lady, and I love her. So definitely Gog Magog. I'm so excited for Lud Luda when it comes out, and I'm just counting down the days now because I believe, November is when the next one comes out. So still got a little bit of time, but I'm excited for it. The second book would be Sky's End by Mark J. Gregson. This book was fantastic. I loved everything about it. The action, the characters. It had me crying at the end. I'm so excited for the next book. I cannot wait for book 2 to come out next year so I can see what happens next. I went on a roller coaster of emotions towards the end of it. It's a YA, so it really did take me by surprise because I struggle with YA. But yeah, those are pretty much my 2 top ones. There's like a couple others competing for it. But yeah. Question number 2. Best sequel you've read so far in 2024. So I actually surprisingly haven't read a lot of sequels. I have this problem of not finishing series. But I did read the 5th book in the October Days series by Shannon McGuire, One Salt Sea. And I'm going to pick this one for this book. I loved it. I spent the whole time just being like, no, not that guy, not that one. Don't be with that one. Stop it, stop it, stop it. And then at the end being like, well, I didn't want that to happen either. That's not what I wanted. And did some crying at the end. Had a blast reading it all the way through. I really love October's character. So that's the one I went with. It's not exactly a sequel, but it's part of a series, so I'm counting it as a sequel. Question number 3. A new release you haven't read yet, but want to. And I'm going to go with The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. This is the first book in the Last Legacy trilogy. This was one of those, there's like 5 books this year that I'm actually excited for. Just most of the books that are coming out this year just do not sound interesting at all to me. There's a very big cozy and romantasy phase going on right now in publishing, and those aren't my jam. So I can like count the amount of books that I'm excited for on like one hand. Could I tell you the names of all of them at this exact moment? No. But this is one that recently, I believe it was last month that this one came out, or possibly even earlier this month. I think it was last month though. But I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I do have the Broken Binding edition. But yeah, this is probably one of my top new releases that I would like to get to this year, but I'm not gonna pretend that that's gonna happen. Okay, let's just be real. Let's be real with myself here. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And that's actually going to go to The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, book 3 in the Bloodsworn saga. I love everything about this series, and this is one that when it comes out, I will be reading it like as I get it in, because I have to know what happens with my girl Orca, okay? Like, and Varg, like, those two, I love those two. And I'm ready to see how Gwen is going to complete the series. And it's the one book where I'm just like, yep, that is probably my top number one like anticipated read for this entire year. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. And that would be The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart. This was the biggest disappointment. I just finished reading this month. I was buddy reading it with Chaz over at Bookish Chaz, and I have never been so disappointed. Everybody hyped this up. Everyone, as someone who loves Arthurian tales, and everyone telling me, oh, you have to read that one. That's the pinnacle. It's one of the best ones. You have to read it. I'm trying to figure out what book you guys read. I'm genuinely trying to figure it out, because this was just, it was slow. It was uneventful. Everything that was interesting happened off page, and Merlin just told us in his little narration, so this happened, that person died, this person died, that happened, and that happened. And I was just like, oh, where's the excitement? Like, it felt like a textbook at times, just paragraphs and paragraphs of just explaining things, like they went to war and then they fought and then they did this and then they did that and then they did this and then they did that and then they did this and then they did that and then they did this and then they did that. And I was just like, can I like live in the moment? So this was such a huge disappointment. I do not know if I'm going to continue with the series, honestly. I have the next 2 books, and then I have the final book. I'm missing book 4, but I don't know. But I was expecting to come out of this absolutely loving it, and I did not, and that's really disappointing. Also, do you guys like my Robin Hood cup? I have a theme. Protect Sherwood. Robin Hood. Anyways, back to our regularly scheduled program. The biggest surprise. And that's going to go to 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This blew me away. Okay, this was a 5-star read for me. If you're new here, and if you're returning, sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I struggle with YA. I have a love-hate relationship with it. So many books sound so good, and then the execution is just not for me. And this was one of those ones where I was so worried, because I love this cover, and I was like, I want that to be a good enough reason to keep this on my shelves. But then I actually read it, and I loved it. I fell in love with the entire plot, the characters, the end of it, though, that's where it really, like, hooked me, and like the relationships that pop up in it, because it's not just like a romantic relationship, like, which is very like in the background, like it's not even present through most of this story, which was so nice for me, but there's like family relationships, and they're just so beautiful. And I have the second book from the library, because I don't own it, but I do have it from the library, that way I can finally read it, and then when, you know, things get a little more financially stable for me, if I like the second book, I will buy it. If not, I'll just own this one. Favorite new author debut or new to you? This one is a little bit hard, because I pretty much only have read like one book by a new author this year. Like, I haven't read like a couple of them, but I do have one where I have a couple of their books like on my list now, and I actually have a second one in my room from the library, but that would be Hester Fox. The first book that I read by her was The Last Heir to Blackwood Library, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked the writing style. It was very easy to get into. I liked the vibes and the feels, and I loved her romantic subplot that was in the story. And I now have the Pale Woman in the Window, I think that's what it's called. I have that one from the library, and then I've got, I think, 3 of her other books that I would like to check out. So that's, I wouldn't say she's a new favorite at the moment, but she is a new interest for me. I am definitely interested in checking out more of her work, because I did like what she did with the one that I read. So I want to see if it's like a fluke, or if she will potentially become a new favorite author for me. Question number 8, newest fictional crush. This is probably the first year where I have not started crushing on any characters, like, because I'm not, I'm not gonna lie, like, there are characters where I do, like, I'm like, oh my god, like Hadrian from Ryria. I love that man. I love that man, okay? So I'm not the kind of person who will hesitate to be like, yeah, I got some book crushes. But I don't have any this year. And I think it's just because, like, there's really, aside, because, like, when I read, like, young adult books, like, those are teenagers. Those are my children. Like, all the kids in Sky's End, those are my children. I have adopted them. I love them. They are my children, you know? And I'm not a big romance reader, so I don't have, like, any of those romance guys. Not that any of them would be interesting to me anyways, because they're all the same copy-paste shadow daddy, so. Yeah, I don't have any this year yet. Like, I think that's, like, there's still a second half of the year, so. Question number 9, newest favorite character. So this one was actually a little bit difficult, but this is actually going to be a newer character that I actually just finished reading, and that's going to go to Jakob Kusel from the Hangman's Daughter Tales. And these are a German translated series by Oliver Potzisch, and Jakob Kusel is the Hangman. This takes place in the first, because this is the second book. I haven't read it yet. These are from my library, so I already returned the first book, so I have the second one now. But the first one is called The Hangman's Daughter, and Jakob Kusel is the hangman in this, I believe it's 1649 that everything takes place in, and he solves a murder, essentially. Like, there's murders going on, but it's the type of character that he is. He's this big, scary, intimidating man who has, like, a heart of gold, but will not hesitate to kill you if he needs to, and I love that about him. Like, those are the kind of characters that I love. I love when they're described as being really big, really strong, really frightening. Like, people look at them and they're just like, oh my god, like, that's a scary looking man. And then he's a hangman on top of that, so he's already treated differently because he kills people for a job. Like, that's his living, you know? But then he actually, like, really does have a heart of gold, and, like, he cares for the people and puts up with all of their nonsense. And I love that. But he will commit murder if he has to outside of his job. Like, he will not hesitate. And I love that about him. Like, I wasn't, like, fully blown away by the first book, but it's enough to where I'm like, I want to finish following this man. I want to see what else happens in this man's life. So, I'm going to go with Jakob Kusel for, like, a new favorite character, because I really do enjoy him. So, question number 10 is book that made you cry. Now, this is, I want my books to make me cry, so, you know, that's a very important aspect of books to me, and surprisingly, I haven't had a lot of them do that to me this year, which is really disappointing. But there are 3 top contenders, and that would be Sky's End by Mark J. Gregson, One Salt Sea by Shannon McGuire, and the 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. All 3 of those had me ugly crying. So those are the 3 I'm going to use. And surprisingly, it was all at the end of each book. It wasn't like in the middle or the beginning or anything, because Shannon McGuire can get me crying throughout the entire book if she really puts in the effort, and she has. But all 3 of these had me a crying mess at the end of them. So I feel like that's important to realize, and I'm not sure why I feel that way, but I do. So, question number 11, book that made you happy. So, I'm actually going to go with a very interesting answer for this one, and I'm actually going to go with the series The Malloreon by David Eddings. Now, hear me out. I don't care for the plot in these books. These are the longest, drawn out, dry plots possible. But the characters that Eddings made in these books bring me so much joy and happiness. Garion's sassiness, Dernick's sweetness, where he's like, he gets embarrassed by just his wife giving him a kiss, you know, like, oh, there's people around, sweetheart, that's private time. And I'm just like, stop, Dernick, you're a grown man, you're so adorable, you know. And Arion just running around doing whatever he wants, and everyone being like, hey, where are you going, kid? Just over there. Like, and then there's the friendship between Dernick and Toth, where I'm just like, stop, they're the cutest. They have the cutest friendship. They're just like, fishing, fishing. We're going fishing, fishing. And then Belgrath having to like put up with all of these people on a constant basis. Like, he gets thrown under the bus so many times by some of these other characters, and he'd just be like, really? Really, guys? I am older and more powerful than all of you. What? And I just, and then there's Aunt Pole, where I just love her. She's probably one of my favorite female characters ever. I just love her. But like, that's like, these bring me a sense of joy in just watching these characters and like what next silly little thing they're gonna do. I don't care about the plot. The plot has been dragged out for so long. But these characters, yeah, they're shenanigans. I'm here for their shenanigans. All right, question number 12. Most beautiful book you bought this year or received. And that is going to go to one of my subscription books, because I pretty much have stopped buying special editions. Because one, a lot of them don't feel like special editions anymore. And then two, they're just so oversaturated. Like, and I realize I don't need to own them all. So I only actually have my subs through Broken Binding and Goldsboro left. So we're going to go with this one. It is Dragon Rider by Taryn Matharu. I'm not sure how to say that last name. But this is the Goldsboro sub edition for... And then you have the dragon scales. They didn't do sprayed edges, which makes sense because it's in a slipcase. You know, and you got the dragon there as well. So, and then he's got, you know, the egg Dragon Rider, you know. So this is definitely the prettiest one that I have received this year. I have not read this yet. I am hoping it'll be a winner. I really am. Fingers crossed. But yeah, this is the prettiest one. And question number 13 is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Everything on my bookcases. Is that a good enough answer? Is that a good enough answer? All the books on my bookcases, which is not going to happen. You know, there's probably some series I could finish up. But I think one of my top priorities is probably getting through my Patricia McKillip collection. I actually did some more deep diving research, and she's written about 30 books in total, and I own about 20 of them, maybe a little bit less. And right now I would like to read everything that I currently own by the end of the year. After that, it's more just like, I guess whatever catches my eye on my shelves. You know, there's, like I said, there's series I could finish. There's series I could start. Like, I could try and start The Faithful and the Fallen. I could say that's one of them. But I don't know. The main thing is I would like to get through as many of my books that I own by the end of the year. That is my goal. My goal is to get to 50% of my collection read by the end of the year. And I'm sitting at I think 37.5 right now. So, you know, that's pretty much my goal. It's not one specific kind of book aside from the Patricia collection. It's just a chunk of my collection. That's the goal. I don't have anything in particular because I'm such a mood reader. So it's probably not a great answer, and you guys are probably like, whatever, you're just chickening out on answering. But that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, that is the mid-year book freakout tag. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Anybody who watches this, if you want to do it, go right ahead. Just do it. It's a tag. I wasn't tagged by anybody. I'm tagging everybody and anybody. If you want to do it, open up your camera, whatever you film on, and film it. So yeah, that's everything I've got. You know, like, subscribe, comment, all those great things, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.